Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Cryptic TNG back with a brand new video, and I hope everyone's had a blessed Christmas, man. My Christmas has been amazing. So much food, great presents, and it's time to get back down to business with Le Mans Ultimate. So today I want to do a video all about how to improve your lap times and little things that you can change to make yourself faster and more competitive in the game. And yeah, guys, let's just get stuck straight into it. So first things first, as you can see, we are in the BMW. We're around the Fuji circuit. And I basically just want to show you guys, literally on default, a lot of people mainly do the default fixed races in the middle of the week, and they may be wondering how I can gain time. They see all these fast lap times being put in, wondering where most of their improvements can come, especially when you can't change the setup. Now, of course, a lot of that is going to be purely down to just pure talent, but there are things that you should be changing in car that make a big difference. I'm going to show you just how much of a difference it can make just by doing a few laps and showing you the difference in just changing your TC settings and changing your brake bias settings, and how much time you can actually find just by changing these few things in your setup. So as you can see, we completed 3 hot laps, and the best we could do was 39.8. We made a gradual improvement from lap 1 to lap 2, but after that, there was pretty much almost a ceiling to what we could actually reach, because there wasn't much more to get out of the car. Probably a few corners I could have done better, but all in all, I think the maximum I was probably be able to get was probably like a 39, maybe a 39.6. So now we're going to go back and we're going to try just by changing the TC settings and maybe the brake bias and ABS alone. Let's see how much more time we can find in the BMW at Fuji. So now before we leave the pits, now we're going to make some alterations. I'm going to try 556 and I'm going to go rear bit of my brake bias. I'm going to try 47.5 and we're going to put my ABS down to 9. So let's see what we can do with these settings. Bearing in mind, this is not a guarantee for everyone in terms of what people might like in terms of traction control settings. You really do have to find the balance, but you need to sort of get away from being too safe, because a lot of the time the defaults are overly safe to protect newcomers, of course, from making mistakes. But gradually go down, gradually see what you're more comfortable with, and you should start finding time. But anyway, let's get on and see how we do with these hot laps. So we skipped the third lap because I just messed that up, but you can see with the 2 laps we did, you can already see there's quite a big difference between, you know, just gradually changing your TC settings and your electronics to just leaving it completely stock just because it feels safe. So make sure when you are trying out a car, make sure you do a bit of practice beforehand, see what works for you with the TC, because trust me, if you leave it stock, you're going to be leaving a lot of time on the track. And you could see out of all the corners, out of all the slow corners, how much I was actually gaining just due to traction control. So also make sure you try going a little bit more rear with the brake bias, particularly in the BMW, because you kind of need it to get the car rotated. And I should probably imagine it's pretty similar for the McLaren. The Ferrari, on the other hand, is a little bit more sketchy. So again, you need to work on what is the correct TC settings for the Ferrari, which is going to allow the TC not to cut in too much, but it's not going to leave the car too nervous when you are going through like fast corners and stuff. So bear that stuff in mind. But next, guys, I'm going to be showing you guys a lap around Bahrain with my friend Carl. And even though he is an extremely fast driver, I'm going to show you where he is even leaving time on the track, and maybe some of you guys are doing the same thing as well. So let me show you Carl's highlights from a lap he did in, I think it was practice or quali the other day, and I was recording while he was in Discord. So excuse the quality, this was me recording in Discord, but I'm gonna keep pausing exactly where Carl was losing time. And this was not actually his fastest lap, this was like his second fastest lap, but I'd observed the same things on the lap prior to this, so I'm going to explain where he was definitely missing out on time and where you guys can find time, because Carl is basically, you know, matching or within half a second of the fast guys, and there's still things that I've noticed or been privy to when he's driving where I can say, yeah, you can definitely go faster here or you can improve here. So a little bit of, I don't know, guess like a little bit of a coaching session for those guys who trying to find them extra half a second. But let's go on to the lap. We'll actually turn it up a bit. So first thing to observe about Carl, and this is quite important, is he's an extremely late breaker. Carl breaks extremely late, later than most people. And although that's always been one of his, probably his strongest traits, in this game, sometimes you can almost break too late. Even when you make the apex, you can almost break too late. Your minimum speed is not what it should be, and then it affects your exit, which in the end, for me, costs you more time on Le Mans Ultimate than it would do on ACC, for example. But let's carry on. So nothing really wrong with his first few corners here. But it doesn't seem like much. But if you see, for one, Carl's brake bias, for me, in the BMW, is not far enough rearwards. And for the section coming up, you need the car to rotate a little bit. You need the front end to really turn in quite a bit. And as you tap the brakes and stuff like that, you kind of need the rearwards brake bias to help rotate the car. That's the first thing that I would say. Looking at his brake bias, 49.5, I believe that's just stock, okay, or close to. And the second thing is, you can use the outside AstroTurf. It's basically feels exactly the same as the track. And the more you can open up the corner, the more speed you can carry into the corner. And again, there's something that many people, when I watch them, they don't utilize, you know, the full extent of the track to gain the time. This is another issue that I believe Carl has. Going down into first gear, you're basically over slowing for a corner. You know, sometimes that can be because you brake too late, so you need to go down to first to get the car to rotate, but he's over slowing for the corner, therefore having to drop down into first gear, and then his minimum speed through the corner is a lot lower than it probably should be. I've tried Bahrain and I'm always in second gear for this corner. You can take the same line as what Carl's taking now. I know it makes you, it feels like you're going quicker because you're right on the apex of the corner, but your minimum speed is below what it should be. Again, I'm going to stop Carl here. Again, this is another part of the circuit where I see this quite a lot. Don't be too scared to put two wheels over this curb right here. Don't be scared to put half your car over this curb, because it opens up the next corner. And as you'll see in the next corner, you kind of need to put two wheels over this curb as well. So all these little things is just time, and you want to take the least line of resistance. So you want to open up all the corners as much as possible. So basically you want two wheels inside of this curb, two wheels in the inside of the next curb, and then you probably even want two wheels in the inside of the curb after that as well. Let's move forward. Very neat. Perhaps maybe you could get a touch more on the right hand side, but this isn't too bad. Again, here you could probably get more of your car over here, and that's going to allow you to get straight fully on the power without running wide and invalidating your lap. That was pretty good. If you notice what Carl did, he actually straightened the car up in the braking, and that allowed his braking to be way more settled, which is pretty good actually, what he did there. But again, not having that rearwards brake bias, it doesn't allow you to have that rotation. brakes so late through it. He brakes so late through this corner. He actually does a pretty good job of actually getting it settled. Now, this is where the brake bias that he's running is going to come to his aid, because he's able to really throw it in, keep the car straight without their back end swapping round. But at what cost? Does he get a better exit out of the corner braking that late? Would he be better off with a much more rearwards brake bias, braking a tad early, letting the back end sort of slide around, and then maybe propelling him from this next tight left-hander, getting a much better run and getting a much better exit? And there you go. He definitely gained on the braking, but he loses on the exit. And for me, this game is all about exit. It's better to get the car rotated through the corner, braking slightly earlier, and being able to get on the power. Because he broke so late, you could see him almost fighting the car in the exit, because, you know, he's still trying to get the car turned in at the same place. And that's where I feel like people, especially now with ABS, a lot of people are throwing the car into corners and forgetting that, like, you know, slowing fast out is definitely a thing on this game. Now again here, going into this corner, you can use a lot more tracks. You can have your car sort of halfway over the curb, opening up the corner some more. And this is what I mean, like, the fastest guys know how to use every inch of the circuit, and that's where you're going to find the extra tenth or half a tenth or whatever it is, you know. You can literally be a little bit further over to this side. You can literally have your wheels on the other side of this red and white curb. And again, as you come through this corner, you can even have your wheels on the inside of this curb. Your left-hand wheels, you can have it on the inside of this curb, and it helps you keep the car tight to the left-hand side, which actually, when you go out wide, it tends to actually lose you time, which I know in F1, they run right to the outside curb, but I feel like it always loses you like a tenth when you go too wide here in the GTs. See that? His time started fluctuating down now. You guys can try it for yourself. Try and actually keep a slightly tighter line here, and it always tends to gain a little bit of time for me. Now here, I did try the BMW, but this was a big thing in the GTEs. The further you go back towards the left here, now I mean like putting like two wheels over the white line here, it made this corner so much easier. The amount of times I was able to go flat through this corner in the GTE because I used to put my car halfway over this line here. Now, sometimes, depending on the line you took through the corner before, you might not have enough time. But, you know, try and use as much of the circuit, particularly at Bahrain, where some of this, I don't know what it is, AstroTurf or whatever, or some of this different coloured tarmac is basically the same. It's the same material as the actual track. So use it if you can, you know. Also, that inside curb, if you want to take this corner flat, you kind of have to put your wheels over the curb, and it does slide a bit, but it allows you to go flat through this corner. Now, I'm talking about how to drive this circuit, particularly in the BMW. Some of the other cars may differ because some of them are not as good over the curbs. Like for me, I tried the Corvette round here, and it was nowhere near as good as the BMW on default. But let's see some more of the lap. Now, this is good. This is using all the track. This is what I'm talking about. This is how wide you should be, you know, as you turn in towards these corners. That was pretty well done. And as you can see then, he pretty much utilized the whole track. From the entry to the apex of the corner and onto the exit, he was utilizing all of the track. Which is probably why you can see his time now coming down in the last sector. Now this is where Carl loses most of his time for me. He brakes super late. He brakes, what's that, like 75, 80 meters? Because he brakes so late, he has to go down to first gear. Now, look at his minimum speed in the corner. 57 miles per hour. When I try this in a moment, I want you guys to check my minimum speed in the last corner compared to Carl's. I think you'll see there's a big difference in how fast we take the last corner just because of how late he brakes and the fact he goes down to first gear, which technically then messes up your run down the back straight. Now he doesn't actually do a better lap than what he already did, but as you can see, he gained in the last corner, despite the fact his last corner was definitely at a slower speed than what I've seen for myself. And when I was watching, I think I was watching like Luke Addison, I was watching a few people in the BMW, everyone taking the last corner in second gear. And a lot of the time their minimum speed was around about 63, 64 miles per hour, which is like it's like a 6-7 miles per hour difference, which is quite a lot for one corner, you know. So, you know, you guys have to be careful not to brake too late and mess yourselves up by driving through certain corners too slowly because you're braking too late. But I'm going to show you guys a little replay of me doing Bahrain, going through the last corner, because I tried the BMW briefly just for this video, and you guys will see what speed I'm able to carry through the last corner. Now, this is going to be my lap around Bahrain. I've only really got the replay for you, but you're going to be able to see the speed which I take some of the corners and the lines that I take through the corners, and, you know, just spot the small differences between me and Carl and the way that we approach the same circuit. Now, coming into turn one, I'm pretty sure I brake quite a bit earlier than Carl. So he probably has the faster first sector, I should think, just off of how late he brakes for turn one, as he's still able to get the car rotated. Now, as we come up into turn three, I want you guys to keep a note of the line that I use and just how the reaction of the car is when I hit the brakes. Something that I need to work on is, you know, being too hard on the brakes, not trail braking enough, but you can still see the line I'm able to use, and that is because I'm utilizing a much more rearward brake bias. I think I was running about 47.0 or something like that towards the rear. I think something like that anyway. But as you can see, look at where my placement of the car is. I'm literally, you know, 2 wheels on the sandy part of the circuit, and, you know, just help extend the corner on entry a little bit. Again, I brake earlier and I'm able to use the same line that Carl uses, even though I don't go down to first gear. I pretty much keep it in second, still able to hit the apex of the corner and get on the power. And as you can see, as we came up to the corner that I was talking about before, notice how I will cut much more of this curb here just to shorten the corner as much as possible. You literally, anything you can cut, try to cut it. I know it may seem like, oh, that's cheating, but that is, you know, it's GT racing. They can take curbs, particularly in the BMW. Make sure you use as much as the track as possible without, of course, cutting the corner completely and getting a warning. I actually hesitated there. I wanted to actually cut more, and that pushed us a little wide on the exit right here. We actually made a pretty big mistake for that corner. We were nowhere near the apex. I probably broke a little too late, wasn't able to get the car rotated. But through this next section where, you know, car broke super late through this double left-hander, watch the difference in our approach to this corner. I was able to get the car, I broke a lot earlier and was able to get the car rotated through the corner so nicely, and on the exit I didn't have no snaps, nothing. I could just put the power down and exit the corner, and you're going to gain all the way up the straight just because of, you know, how you get the car rotated through the corner. So it's not always about how late you brake, it's more about the rotation, just making sure you get the good exits, man. Again, as you can see on the entry to this corner, literally half the car over the curb. I think I actually messed this corner up as well. But again, just try and use as much track as you can. The car, you see the car got a little unsettled. I broke a little bit too late, turned in a little bit too aggressively, and we actually messed this corner up, put ourselves wide. So definitely things that I can improve on myself. And this is what I was talking about earlier, putting your car halfway on the outside this curb to open up this corner even more, to see if we can get round this corner without having to have too much of a lift. Yeah, me and Carl probably pretty similar through those that little section there in terms of how fast we took those corners. Pretty similar, I think. Took a similar line, similar entry and exit. But here's the big difference. Now remember, Carl's minimum speed at the last corner was 57 miles per hour. Let's see what our minimum speed is going through that corner. Again, on entry, I think I definitely use a lot more track, but I brake slightly earlier than Carl does, and it helps us to take more speed into the last corner on the exit. See, we're cutting over the top of the chicane. Carl also did cut over the top of the chicane, but he went down to first gear, and his minimum speed was 57 miles per hour. Our minimum speed was 64 miles per hour, which is a crazy difference. 7 miles per hour through one corner is pretty big. Now you can't actually see the lap time I did because it is the replay, but I can tell you how fast Carl's lap was. Carl did a 59, I think it was like a 59.6 or something like that, or 59.5. This lap that I did was also a 59.5. So that tells me that Carl didn't make any, you know, outstanding mistakes or anything like that. He just drove his lap, but it shows you how much time he actually has in the bank. I made mistakes on my lap. Couple of times I missed the apex or whatever, but I was able to pretty much do the exact same time. I think I did a 59.6. This lap, I believe, was my second lap in the car on this track, because I've been using the Corvette, and I was able to do a 59.6 with mistakes. So I know that definitely means Carl's got so much more time in his lap, you know, and that's just by doing a couple things differently. I would say personally, you know, you don't really want to be going into first gear too much, because sometimes if you shift slightly too late, you lose the run down the straight. It bogs down a little bit. It's going to engage traction control more. As much as you can, try to keep it in the higher gears. If there's a corner that you're not too sure about, try it in both, man. Keep trying it in second gear as much as you can. The only corner I believe that is first gear on this track is probably the tight right-hander after the first sector split, after you go through the sort of left, right, left, and then down the hill. That tight right-hander, that's first gear, and the double left-hander also is first gear in the middle sector. Other than that, you shouldn't need first gear anywhere else in this circuit. So that's what I would say, is just be careful of braking too late or over braking, over slowing down and messing up your exits. Just try and keep it as smooth as possible. And yeah, guys, I'm telling you, man, it's not that hard to get a good lap time if you're smooth and, you know, you just focus on all the little niggly details. A lot of people have already got a good base of speed, and maybe just certain things they're just not doing right. So whether it is TC, electronics and stuff like that, make sure you play with them. Make sure you get them exactly how you like them. Don't be scared to be a little uncomfortable. Don't make the car too safe, as it definitely slows you down, man. But anyway, guys, tell me if you like the video. Tell me what you guys are struggling with in the comment section below. Cryptic TNG, like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to catch my videos first. And peace.